And we are live. Hello, everyone. Hi, Louise.
Hello.
Welcome to our second episode of season 2, The Growth Invitation. In this season, I'm committing to bringing powerful women all over the world to share their story of challenges and growth, and acting this as an invitation to you and an inspiration for you in the audience, so that you know that no matter where you are, what you've experienced, and where your starting point is, you can always choose to grow and manifest your dream future. Today, I'm super excited and honored to have Louise Adams, who is the CEO of a charity called Love for Life in the UK, to have join us. Hi, and welcome to the podcast. So, Louise, please tell us a little bit more about who you are and what do you do as a CEO?
Oh, that's a big question. So I run Love for Life, which is an amazing charity based in the Midlands of the UK. And we support girls who are aged 11 to 18 to grow, to help them to improve their mental health and their well-being. We support them to build their confidence, to build their self-esteem, and to build an understanding of healthy relationships of all those people around them, helping to live a life that they love and feel empowered and worthy, that they can make those choices for themselves and can go on and live, have a future that they are proud of and own.
I love that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's amazing.
Yeah, it really filled me up with the warm, fuzzy feeling when you said that. It's like actually starting off, with them young. Young
absolutely.
Really deserve it. And I am of, really genuine belief that if we can actually help people when they're younger, the easier it is for them to actually start opening up doors to opportunities and see more opportunities as they grow up into adulthood.
Absolutely. I was going to say, I've worked with young people forever. I love a crazy, chaotic young person. They make me feel very happy. I was going to say, but I've always found myself, previous to working with Love for Life, I've always worked with young people sort of like after things have happened to them, but sort of like, after that moment of trauma or difficulty. So whether that be through, I used to work with young people after they'd left care. So they were moving on from being in a care environment and moving out sort of like the first time into their own independence for the first time, and trying to understand what it was to become a young adult. And I've also worked with young people in like a youth homelessness environment where they've been made homeless by the people around them. And I just got to the point after doing that for quite some years that I just thought, I want to do the start bit. If we can help young people feel capable, understand the world that they're in, create those healthy coping mechanisms, understand how to read relationships and sort of like understand how to communicate within those relationships and advocate for what they want within them, then some of these things that have happened might still happen because we can't control the big wide world. Life happens. But what we can do is help them be able to cope and manage in a far better way. And sometimes when you cope and manage, it means that actually, even if stuff is happening around you, it doesn't feel quite as impactful, and it doesn't feel quite as terrible, because actually you think, no, I can get through this. You've got that resilience, that bit of grr inside you that means that you can continue and that you can like go, no, this is just a blip. Whereas, as I said, when I was working with a bit of youth homelessness, what you would definitely find is that people would think that being homeless at sort of like 16, 17, 18, they would see themselves as a homeless person forever. And, we did quite a lot of work with them at going, no, you are homeless here and now. That doesn't mean this is going to be you in 5 years' time. It doesn't even mean it's going to be you in 5 months' time. But don't categorize yourself as that this moment is forever. This moment is just a moment, and we can get you through it. So yeah, I think being able to work with young people and this move to, the move I made to Love for Life about 2 years ago, has just been amazing for me, because I can really see some of the young people that we support and that we work with at the moment. I can sort of like see their older counterparts that I've worked with previously. And I sort of get that sort of like moment where you think, I know that if they had had some of this work, I would never have had to have worked with them, which would have done me out of a job, but it would have been far better for them. And they would have been able to have sort of like those life chances, because even when bad things happen, and you haven't had some of that help and support early on, you can get through it. You can be able to forge your path, but it can take you so much longer to work through those periods of difficulty and stickiness. And also, when you've got, I always think about it a bit like a tree. You need big, strong, deep roots, and then when the wind blows, that tree doesn't really go very far. And I think when we start working with anybody, but especially young people, if you start working with them after the chaos has happened, after that trauma has happened, their roots aren't deep. Their roots are really shallow. And so when they come to the next problem or the next sort of like something bad that happens, they haven't got that depth, those deep-seated roots of understanding and courage and confidence. And so when something else happens, it pushes them over really easily. And so being able to work with them new and early, it is about getting really deep in, and really, really encouraging that growth early on in their life to make sure that they have those strong roots. So when the wind blows, they can stand up strong, take it, and know that they will be steadfast and continue.
I love that. That is super, super powerful, because actually, thinking back to my own childhood and me growing up, if I had all the knowledge that I've got now, or at least some of it, there are definitely things that wouldn't have happened. Or at least if they did happen, exactly like you said, I would have been able to manage it in a much better way. So and I'm sure that with every person, adult out there who's listening to this, they'll be like, yeah, if I had someone to say, do not allow this thing to define you as who you are.
Yeah.
This is not your identity. This is your current circumstance, your current situation, rather than this is me for life, which a lot of people actually take. This is, okay, this happened to me and this is now me for life. Like, I'm now branded as X or Y, or because of this, therefore this is the path I have to take. Naturally, it's not true at all. And I love what you're sharing about how Love for Life can actually empower younger people so that they can have those really deep roots and those massive trunks. And when they go, it's just, it's a bit of a bruise, and we'll just move through this until the next time. So I'd love to know, was there, like, at what point did you decide that you wanted to work with young people? And or was there something that actually triggered that decision? Was it a young person specifically, a situation that happened for you to decide, this is my life purpose and I'm going to pursue it no matter what?
It's a strange question, because I think I've always been really person focused. I was always that person at school who would look around the classroom and sort of like find that person that didn't have a friend, that was sort of like, on the periphery of the class and stuff like that. And I would always sort of like try and include people. I classify myself as a professional people watcher.
I love that.
I just love people watching and understanding how people work, and sort of like ended up sort of like when I went to university, I did sociology and anthropology, so basically people watching in different cultures. And so it's always just been that bit of I just love how people put together and understanding sort of like that the bits that make them up and sort of like the experiences that make them up. And then when I first sort of like started my foray into sort of like the working world, it was not what I wanted to do. I was going to say, and so I ended up going and doing reading in a primary school, just as a volunteer job, you know, because I was like, I knew young people were where I wanted to be. I wanted people in my world. And so I thought, I'll go in, you know, and luckily the organisation I was with was quite large, and they had this volunteer programme. So I was like, right, I'm going to go every Tuesday lunchtime. I was on sort of like released to go to the local primary school to go and do reading with the children. And I just loved it, I was going to say. And they were only little ones. And even at that point, I was like, I love it, but I don't want to be a teacher. I knew I didn't want to teach. I wanted to sort of like connect with young people in their world and understand how I could help them. And although teachers do obviously help them and everything like that, it's very structured what a teacher has to do within the school day and everything. And it was more about how they became themselves, the, you know, young people that they worked with. And so I just thought, let's find. So I ended up working for a children's charity to begin with, and it was a little bit of a drop because it was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I come here saying I like people and I can like connect with them, but I've never done this before. And really early on, I started working with a young girl called Nikki, and she was fabulous. And I ended up working with her for about 5 years. So we went through a lot of life together, you know, because I supported her sort of like between the ages of 16 and 21, which is quite a massive chunk of your life. And it was the fact that we went through quite a lot together. You know, it went from her not trusting me, you know, she'd had a lot of grown-ups in her life, and at that point I don't think I really classified myself as a grown-up because I was in my early 20s. I was still like, I don't know what a grown-up is. But she had a lot of grown-ups in her life because she'd been through the care system. She really didn't trust anyone. She really didn't want to like me, which I find is a bit of a personal challenge, and I'm never going to back down from a challenge. So it was probably quite a good way to sort of like, you know, for me to grow into that. And it was that sort of like very much that slow drip, drip, drip effect of me showing up, being reliable, being dependable, showing that she could trust me. That eventually, you know, she did. And all the things that sort of like, you know, I supported her through, you know, from coming out of foster care. She had some quite difficult experiences that, you know, she had never shared before, that she shared with me, and that we had to get help and support. You know, she did on occasion self-harm and have suicide ideation occasionally that we would have to work through. But, you know, being able to watch her grow and develop and have that confidence within me, that even if I didn't know the answer, I would be really honest with her and say, I don't know. I don't know. Let's find this out together, and sort of like help her sort of like, you know, find that way. It was just brilliant. And sort of like, you know, and sometimes, you know, there were mistakes, you know, and it goes back to having being able to support someone early on in their life. You know, she did have a couple of relationships that, one, you know, I will always remember having a phone call from her one morning, and her telling me that she was in the hospital because she'd had ended up in a domestic violence relationship, and she'd been kicked down the stairs, and in the days of the old tower computers, and had one thrown on top of her from the top of the stairs. And, you know, her being in hospital and like crying down the phone, and like I was the person that she called. And you just think, oh, okay, you know, but it's that ability to then turn up, support her, you know, let her understand that she has to make those decisions within that relationship. You know, I couldn't make them for her. She needed to make them for herself. But she had that person behind her that was supporting her, that believed in her, that was showing her what a positive relationship looked like with other people, you know, and creating that ability to create that self-worth, to create that confidence, to create that self-esteem, and just seeing her grow day on day on day. You know, in, like, as I said, 5 years of working with her down the line, the growth that she showed and developed, you know, by the end of my time, sort of like, you know, and we had to say sort of like, you know, your support has finished, which is always an emotional moment, but it's always right to have that ending. You know, she'd got to the point where she was in her own home. She was working full time. She had a supportive partner. It was brilliant and it was lovely, and it was being able to show that, and it was, as I said, it was that constant reassurance, resilience that like we showed together, that she knew that that dependability was there. And you know, and that's what I see all the time. And that's what makes me want to continue working with young people, because there are hard moments when we work with young people. There are definitely hard moments, even with the work at Love for Life. You know, if some people experience trauma very early on in their life, so some of the young people that we work with have definitely already experienced some things that children shouldn't experience, but being able to support them as early as you can, being able to sort of like identify and show them that steadfastness, that resilience, that alternative way of being is just magnificent. I can't really explain it, and I absolutely adore it. And and for me, it's just being able to be really pragmatic, you know, and take that step-by-step approach with young people, you know, with the young people that I work with, because sometimes when it's all chaotic, it's really easy to think, oh my God, where do I start? What happens next? And it's just being able to take sort of like that half a step back and go, right, okay, we know we need to get to over here, but what is step number one? Let's not get overwhelmed by the 25,000 steps after that, but let's just focus on the next one. And for me, it is very much about always going, yeah, who cares what's after that step? We will always just focus on the next one. And yeah, it works for me, and I absolutely love it. I can't give you enough.
I can definitely see and feel your passion, even though we're on in the screen. But the way that you shared about, you know, the story that you shared about Nikki, I call it a story, but you know, it's obviously a real life person. And her story of you helping her, 5 years doesn't actually sound like that long, but it actually is. For someone to have gone through that level of trauma and that level of abuse and things happening to her, but also for her to have come out the other side. Like the way that you watched her witness, and you're part of that, the most transformational part of the journey, that you were there to transform her life. That must be so rewarding. And the why, the real steadfast why every single day is because I can get you from people from there to there. And I guess, you know, in a way, for me as a life coach, I see that it's like, oh, to be able to see from there to there. But for you, it's obviously a longer process. Sometimes it is super chaotic, and you know, in a way, I think it's good that young people actually show up in a different way to adults. Adults sometimes have to really hold back, right? And they're like, oh, I can't say that, I'm an adult. I can't feel that, I'm an adult. But actually, you know, younger people, they go, well, this is what I feel and I don't like you. And I don't want this. At least you know what you're dealing with. Or sometimes they go, oh, you know, all crazy. But that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
And for you to be able to have the pragmatism to come in and go, and this is amazing advice to anyone who wants to start, you know, following the life purpose. Well, okay, that's the life purpose there, but what's the actual next step? Okay, and I'm sure you went through, and you just described as well, went through those days where go, right, I'm starting out my journey. I'm like 20 something. I'm like maybe 4 or 5 years older than this girl.
Yeah.
I've not experienced anything that she has. So how do I help her?
Absolutely. I was going to say, and I think sometimes it is just that bit, as I said, you know, about being really honest and saying what you know and what you don't know. And young people can be can be brutally honest, you know, and they will tell you, and they will know pretty quickly if you're faking it, and you're not being truthful with them. So it is just being that, having that honesty with for me, with young people, but with whoever it is in your life, and that honesty with yourself, to be able to say that, yes, I do know this, or no, that I don't know this. And there's no shame in not knowing stuff. Absolutely no shame. I think there is quite a lot of stigma sometimes when people go, oh, why do I know that? You know, you know what you know, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And until it sort of like comes across you, or you know, it comes to your door, then why would you have even looked into something that you haven't done? And I think there is that. There is an honesty and a power in being able to admit what you know and what you don't know, and being truthful with it, which is great. And it relates again to young people, like you said, you know, the difference between working with young people and with adults, is that young people still don't 100% know who they are. You know, we've all had that moment, or I definitely did growing up, where you're trying on different outfits to figure out who you are, you know. So like, you know, one day you might be a bit goth and have all your black clothes on, and the next day you're very, like, you know, pop pretty and Barbie, and you've got your pink on and stuff like that. But as we grow up and as we become older and stuff, we get a lot more set in our ways about who we are and what we know, and that becomes a little bit more like, it's our security blanket. But the fun and the exciting thing with working with young people is that a lot of the times they're not afraid to try, because they haven't figured out who they are yet. They haven't figured out what personality they want. So they are far more willing to go, yeah, that didn't work, let's try that hat on today instead, because that one got far more results than this one. You just got to hope that the hats that you're giving them on to try are the positive hats and not the bad hats.
I love that. I definitely remember my massive, big metal chains and trousers and freaking my mum out. Like, what are you doing? I thought I was cool until I didn't. So yeah, and I love that. And almost, you know, in a way, as adults, it would be amazing for us to regain that curiosity and that
Absolutely.
courage to go, well, that one didn't work, let me try the other one on. But to have someone there to say, but also to be willing to say, well, I don't know which one fits me. You got any ideas? Like,
yeah.
You want to give me something to try on, and then like, so then we can actually give them like the positive hats, and learning really from young people. And I guess you being able to work with young people like most of your life has actually set you up to win in that way, to help you go, oh, actually, if I operated as them, my opportunities are endless. My, you know, every door is open if I allow it to be open. I just got to choose. And I think young people are great at choosing what they like and what they don't like.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it's our job to try and help them choose the things that they like that are healthy, that are healthy for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I definitely feel like, you know, whilst it is super sad to hear people like Nikki have had to experience things like this, and we all know that things like this still happen. Yeah. However, you know, one person at a time, we can actually work on changing the world and helping every single person until this doesn't exist anymore. And then you will be out of job, but we'll find you a new job at that point. So what is, you know, one, if you had to share one tip or one piece of advice that can help our audience who's listening, who might be actually really wanting to follow their purpose, to look at, okay, this is where I think I want to go. How would you go about, what would you advise them?
I think my biggest advice is basically, it goes back to opening those doors. I was going to say, follow the path that makes you happy. that fills you, that fills you up, that gives you that feeling. Because if you're doing something that makes you happy, even the hard days, you know you can get through. Because if you're doing something that you're waking up and hating, it's always going to be hard. I was going to say, but yeah, follow the steps that make you go, yeah, no, this is giving me that in the inside that I want. So follow the bits that make you happy. Sometimes we have choices to make that can be difficult, and you don't know whether they're both going to lead somewhere, and you think, oh, which choice do I make? But it's following that one that you think, actually, no, this is the one that means it gives me that feeling, that happiness, or it leads me to the path of happiness. Because sometimes, you know, but yeah, do something you love and follow that path that you love.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So shifting gears slightly and talking about actually Love for Life, you know, what are you guys working on? Is it how can people actually support Love for Life if they want to get involved, or if there's any?
So, you know, as we said, Love for Life is an amazing charity. I absolutely adore the young people and adore the people that make Love for Life. You know, we work with around 500 young people each year through the East Midlands, and support them through providing them one-to-one support, helping them to sort of like do that coaching, mentoring, big sister type of role, and also group work, which helps them to develop sort of like peer support networks and everything. So they've got their sort of like tribe of people that they can rely on after we've finished supporting with them. One of the things that we need help with all the time, which is funding. I was going to say, people can support us in loads of ways. We have a newsletter that people can sign up to, which is, you know, on the link that's that's up at the moment. We have activities that happen that people can come along to, some of our events. They can just donate. I was going to say, become regular donors, or if they're local to us, you know, we're always out on the outlook for volunteers to come and help us with our girls groups and things. So we have enough people to help and support, you know, the activities and the events that we're running. But yeah, there's loads and loads of ways, even if it's sharing and word of mouth. So if you know a young person needs that help and support, you know, tell them parent, tell their carer, tell their school about us, and we can, you know, reach out and so they know that they're there, that we're here, and that they can get in touch, so we can sort of like, you know, guide them through our pathway for help and support.
Amazing. And I am actually super excited as well to say that we are actually supporting, I am supporting, and my social enterprise is supporting Love for Life. So we are actually running an online fundraising summit, and so we're going to have 7 speakers on the day and talking about empowering your future and giving you the tools to set you up to win in your life journey, and very much in line with what we've been talking about today, actually giving people the tools to help them feel empowered, to help them see the possibilities and understand there is a different way. And so if anyone who is watching the live, or even if it's like later, if you want to join in, it is completely free on the day. Or if you want to get the recordings from the day because you can't attend, or if you want to support Love for Life, you can just donate on there. The link is in on the screen right now. You can just go onto our Janette One community, look for upcoming events, and then all the details are on there. Amazing. So thank you so much, Louise, for your time today. It is absolutely my pleasure. And I love hearing your story as well. Is there anything else that you want to share? Last minute thoughts that you want to share with the audience before we close?
I just want to say a massive thank you to Janette for inviting me on today. It's been amazing. And I'm really looking forward to the summit on the 26th, and a big thank you to the Janette One community and all of your fabulous speakers that are there to speak that day. It should be an amazing event.
Yes, it will be. We're aiming for £1,000 or more. So make sure you check out the link. You won't regret coming on. The speakers are incredible. We've got an amazing lineup this month. So check it out, check out the link, and thank you once again, Louise, and we will speak to you again all soon. Bye.
Bye.